Welcome back, my dear students. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the dual space of the L1 space. So, the dual of L1 space is actually L infinity space. So, L1 space consists of the collection of all sequences zeta 1, zeta 2, etc., such that summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of zeta j is less than infinity. This is actually bounded. That's the those collection of sequence consist of L1. And also here the norm is if x is equal to this, the norm is actually summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of zeta j raised to 1 1 by 1 the whole raised to 1 by 1. Oh, so this is actually the norm. In the case of L infinity consists of set of all bounded sequences with the norm x is equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j where x is equal to gamma 1 gamma 2 etc. So this is actually the two spaces L1 and L infinity. So we have to prove that the dual of L1 is actually L infinity. So what we have to prove is L1 we have to define a map from L1 dash to L infinity, and we have to prove that this map is a bijective linear map, or there exists an isomorphism from L1 dash to L infinity. That's what we have to prove. So like in the previous example, what we are going to prove is first we observe some what is the property of the linear function, a general linear functional which is defined on L1. That's what we have to first analyze. Then what we are going to do is we will establish that its norm is what? The value of its norm. And then we will define a map from L1 dash to L infinity and prove that it is actually bijective and linear and preserves norm. So first thing what we have to going to do is we have to identify the properties of a general linear functional which is defined on L1. For that we have to take an arbitrary basis. In this case, a shorter basis of L1. So a shorter basis of L1 basis of L1 is of the form sequence Ek, where Ek is equal to delta Kj, which is equal to 1 if k is equal to j, is equal to 0 if k not equal to j. So this is the collection. Ek means the collection of all 0, 0, etc. 1 in the kth position and all other positions are 0. So this sequence is what is actually Ek. So this is actually a shorter basis of L1. And also for every x element of L1, we can clearly understand that x can be written as a linear combination of E1, E2, etc. Ek, because x is a collection of all sequences. X must be, let's say, sequence zeta 1, zeta 2, zeta 3, zeta 4, etc. This must be an element which is in L1. So x should be of this form. So this is x. Now this can be written as zeta 1 E1 plus zeta 2 E2 plus etc. zeta k Ek plus etc. This is this form. So x can be written as summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j ej. By the definition of e1, e2, etc., it is trivial that this can be written in this form. So every element can be written as a linear combination of the shorter basis. Now we have enough tool to identify the properties of the linear functional f which is defined on L1. So let f be an element in L1 dash. So which is a linear functional which is defined on L1. So f of x should be equal to f of summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j ej, which by linearity of f should be equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j times f of ej, where j varies from 1 to 3 etc. infinity. So if we take f of ej as gamma j, we can write this as summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j times gamma j. Okay. So we have successfully defined f. Now our objective is, as in the previous case, to find the value of norm f. For that, we have to find the value of modulus of f of x by norm x. So in this case, what we are going to do is, we are taking modulus of gamma j. Okay. So by the definition of gamma j, which is f of ej, which should be equal to modulus of f of ej, where e1, e2, etc. en is the basis. Now this can be written as, this is actually less than or equal to norm f times norm ej, because we have taken f to be an element in L1 dash. Every element in L1 dash is a bounded linear operator. So f is bounded, so which means that f of modulus of f of x should always be less than or equal to norm f times norm x. So modulus of f of x should be less than or equal to norm f times norm x. This is the definition of boundedness. Now we have, by the definition of Ej, which is actually a shorter basis which is defined as the kth component 1 and all other components are 0, we must have norm of Ej should be equal to 1. This is clear from the definition. So by that we have modulus of gamma j should be less than or equal to norm f times 1. Okay, that is modulus of gamma j should be less than or equal to norm f for all j. Okay. Now this is true for all j. Okay. So this result is true for all j, which means that for the collection of gamma j's, norm f is a upper bound. Now we relate it with the supremum. Supremum is the least upper bound. Now this is true for all j, means that supremum over j modulus of gamma j should be also be less than or equal to norm f, because this norm f is an upper bound of gamma j for all j. We have taken the supremum. Supremum is always less than or equal to an arbitrary upper bound. We write this as equation A. So we have found one relation, that is supremum over j modulus of gamma j is less than or equal to norm f. Now we find the other relation, that is norm f is less than or equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j. And also norm f is a fixed number because f is bounded. From this we can say another thing is the fact that modulus of gamma j less than or equal to a fixed number for all j, which means that the sequence gamma j is an element in L infinity. Okay, So L infinity consists of the set of all bounded sequences. So if an element gamma j should be an element in L infinity, it should have the property that modulus of gamma j should be less than a some number for all j. Here, modulus of gamma j is less than or equal to norm f for all j. Norm f is a fixed number. So from that, it is clear that gamma j, the sequence gamma j, is an element in L infinity. And the second thing which we have done is, so we have taken an arbitrary f element of L1 dash, and associated with that we have defined a gamma j which is equal to f of ej with respect to the shorter basis, and this sequence is actually an element in L infinity. So the second thing which we have done is, associated with every linear functional which is defined on L1, we have found an element in L infinity. Now the second thing which we are going to do is, associated with every element in L infinity, we are actually defining an element, a unique element in L1 dash. That's what we are going to do. So on the other hand, for every B, which is defined as sequence beta j, which is an element in L infinity, we can define a linear functional, define a linear functional L G G on L dash, which is defined on L1, which is defined as g of x is equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j times beta j, where x is equal to sequence theta j, which is an element in L1. So here, associated with this element, we can define a functional g of x. This is a product of the sum of product of this, which is actually a real number because these are real numbers. Then now we have to prove that this is actually a linear functional. So this is from L1 on to R. That part is clear. The second thing which we have to prove is, which is actually a linear functional. So g of some alpha x plus y should be equal to, where x is this and y is some eta j, belongs to L1. Now by definition, this should be equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity alpha x plus y, which is actually alpha x plus y should be equal to alpha times theta j plus eta j, the sequence. So which is actually the sequence, the first term alpha theta 1 plus eta 1, alpha theta 2 plus eta 2, etc. That's what. So this is actually summation j is equal to 1 to infinity sum of this alpha theta j plus eta j. Now this is actually a bounded sum because the elements are in L1, which means that summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j, modulus of theta j is actually bounded, and summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of eta j is also bounded. So from that, this is actually, both of them are finite sum. So this can be written as alpha times summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j plus summation j is equal to 1 to infinity eta j. So this is equal to alpha times g of x plus g of y by definition of g. So clearly this function is actually linear. So g is linear. So our objective was to define corresponding to every element in L1 to define a linear functional, a bounded linear functional actually. That's what our objective. So G is linear and G is a functional. So our objective was to prove that G is a bounded linear function so that G belongs to L1 dash. So next thing which we are going to prove is G is bounded. So for that we take modulus of g of x. So modulus of g of x by definition is summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j times gamma j, where sequence gamma j is an element in L infinity. In the previous case we took this as beta j. Okay, so we can represent by any other means. So this is actually, so since this is gamma j is belongs to L infinity, so clearly each of the components should be bounded. So gamma j, modulus of gamma j is always less than supremum j modulus of gamma j. So in this we can substitute, instead of gamma j we can actually substitute supremum j modulus of gamma j and use this inequality. So this is actually less than or equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j times supremum over j modulus of gamma j. You can actually do this. So this is actually a fixed number. Supremum over j modulus of gamma j is a fixed number. So we can take it outside. So this is equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j times summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j. Since theta j, sequence theta j is an element in L1, and by the definition of L1, if we take this as x, norm x is actually summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j. So instead of this sum, we can actually substitute norm x. So from the beginning, modulus of g of x should be less than or equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j times norm x. Okay, so this is a fixed number. This is, if we take this as some c, so we can write it as modulus of g of x is actually less than or equal to c into some norm x. So which implies by definition of boundedness, G is actually bounded. So G is linear and G is bounded and G is a functional. So which means that G belongs to L1 dash. G is a bounded linear functional. So what we have done is, associated with every linear functional, we have defined an element gamma j in L infinity, and in second, associated with every element beta j which is in L infinity, or gamma j, we have defined a linear functional g which is in L1 dash. So corresponding to every element in L infinity, we can have an element in L1 dash. That's what we have proved. Now we are moving towards finding its norm. So what we have done is, corresponding to every x in L infinity, we have a linear functional f in L1 dash. This is what we have proved. And we have an inequality which satisfies, which relates norm x with the norm f. And if we take an arbitrary linear functional f, we have modulus of f of x actually equal to modulus of summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j times gamma j by the definition we have defined in the second part. Now, now theta j, this theta j is an element in L infinity. So modulus of theta j should be less than supremum j modulus of theta j. So this should be less than or equal to supremum j, like in the previous case, modulus of theta j times summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j. This is gamma j. So now this is actually norm x in L1. So this implies modulus of f of x should be less than or equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j times norm x. So which implies modulus of f of x by norm x should be less than or equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j. Now this means that for every x in L1, this quantity modulus of f of x by norm x is actually less than supremum over j modulus of gamma j. So which means that supremum over j modulus of gamma j is actually an upper bound. So if we take the supremum of this quantity should always be less than some upper bound. This is an upper bound of this quantity. Now if we take the supremum over x, element of something, x not equal to 0, modulus of f of x by norm x should always be less than or equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j. This should be true because this quantity is actually an upper bound of this quantity. By the relation of supremum and upper bound, we can state that this is actually true. So which implies on the left hand side, this is actually norm f is less than or equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j. This is actually equation B. So we have already written equation A. Now we have equation B. From equation A and B, we have norm f is equal to supremum j modulus of gamma j. Now we have enough tools to define an isomorphism from L1 dash to L infinity. So now we have defined Fi from L1 dash to L infinity defined by phi of f is equal to sequence f of E1, f of E2, etc. or sequence gamma j. We have already proved that this gamma j, sequence gamma j, is an element in L infinity. We have previously done that. So this is a function from L1 dash to L infinity. And this is actually a 1 1 and on 2 because we have proved that corresponding to each sequence gamma j in L infinity, we must have a linear functional f belongs to L1 dash and vice versa. From that itself, we can clearly understand that this function, which assigns every linear functional which is defined on L1 to an element in gamma j, is actually 1 1 and on 2. We have already did that. Now it is enough to prove that this should be linear. So let f1 f2 belongs to L1 dash and alpha be a scalar. So phi of alpha f1 plus f2 by definition should be equal to alpha f1 plus f2 of E1, comma, alpha f1 plus f2 of E2, etc., which by definition should be equal to alpha f1 E1 plus f2 E1, comma, alpha f1 E2 plus f2 E2 etc., which by definition should be equal to alpha times, we can write it as f1 e1, f1 e2, etc., plus f2 e1, f2 e2, etc. So on the left hand side, this should be equal to alpha times phi of f1 plus this is phi of f2. So this is actually linear. So phi is linear, and it's a bijection. You can actually prove that if you want to. Phi is 1 1 and on 2, but we have already done that. We have associated every element of L1 dash to an element of L infinity. So phi is an isomorphism. And also norm of phi f should be equal to, by definition, this is actually norm of phi f. Here by definition of f, this is actually norm of f of e1, f of e2, etc. And this is actually an element in L infinity. In L infinity, the norm is actually supremum over j modulus of f of ej. This is the norm. So which is equal to supremum over j modulus of gamma j, which is equal to norm x if we take x to be modulus of gamma j. Okay, so clearly norm f should be equal to norm of phi of f should be equal to norm of f. I think which this is the correct definition. This is equal to norm x, and we have already proved that supremum over j modulus of gamma j is equal to norm f. So what we have done is we have successfully established that norm of phi f should be equal to norm of f. So phi is a bijective linear map which preserves norm. So from that it is clear that phi is an isomorphism. Since phi is from L1 dash to L infinity, we can clearly say that L1 dash is isomorphic to L infinity. So the dual of L1 is actually L infinity. The idea is quite simple, which is similar to proving dual of Rn. We first take a basis, and from that we define f, the linear functional value of f at the basis. From that we relate the norm of the second element with respect to norm of f. We define an inequality. In this case, as the second part, we prove that corresponding to every element in L infinity, we have a linear functional and vice versa. And then we proved that norm f should be equal to norm of x, where x is some element in L infinity. And then we define a linear functional from L1 dash to L infinity and prove that it is actually linear and which preserves norm. Then it is clear that it is an isomorphism. From that, L1 dash is isomorphic to L infinity, that is the dual of L1 is actually L infinity. Thank you.